Our latest entrepreneur is going to emphasize the first lesson of entrepreneurship, learning how to survive. Here is how today's guest puts it. Surviving isn't about making as much cash to buy the things you want. It's about generating enough income to survive, to acquire the things you need. Once you learn to survive, you can build a foundation to thrive. He grew up on the streets of New Jersey, surrounded by violence, without guidance, in a home filled with dysfunction from an abusive, alcoholic, drug-using father who attempted to kill his mother at the age of 12. Most people would not survive these situations, but Paul did. Paul Szyarto is an expert in business operations and technology and has spent the last 20 years maximizing the bottom line of more than 600 global companies, including Microsoft, Goodyear, BP, Kellogg, you name it, he's done it. He is the founder of PSG Holdings and is ready to share all his tips for success that he has found over a 20-year incredible career. Before I bring him on to talk all things entrepreneurship, we will learn how. Paul Podcast. Paul, which platform do you stream your shows through?
So I have to be honest, we're actually building a streaming platform called Membrella right now. So I prefer to use my own platform.
I like that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we're looking at all the every platform out there. I mean, of course, Apple. We look at Buzzsprout, Captive, Transistor, Castos. I mean, every one of them I've looked at, evaluated. But I'd say primarily, it's probably on the Apple side.
I use Apple too because of the ease. It's on my phone. It's the computer. Everything goes hand in hand. You mentioned Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout is what I do host through. For everyone out there looking to get in the podcast game, you have to pick a site to host your episodes, then to push out to all these great platforms. Thank you for shedding light on that, Paul. Now, when in the day do you find yourself listening to podcasts?
I would say typically when I get up in the morning or in the evening when I'm trying to cool down. So I'll go through a few phases of meditation throughout my day, and I'll pull things up in the morning just to open my eyes, and in the evening I'll go through other casts just to kind of settle my thoughts. So
like that, making the most of your time. Do you find yourself using headphones on a speaker?
I actually go into like I sit on a massage chair and I go into a blackout room, and I use pretty much ear wrap headsets, with my eyes covered. So, and I just kind of like black room, eyes covered, and just get into the cast fully. So
incredible. I love to hear how you podcast too. Everyone listening out, email me info@vincentalanci.com. I'll feature you right here on an episode. With that, let's welcome you back to another recording of That Entrepreneur Show, your favorite podcast. I am your host, Vincent A. Lanci. You can find more about me at Vincent A. Lanci across social media, YouTube, or my website, vincentalanci.com. If it's your first time sitting down with us, each week since December 2019, I have interviewed the founder of a company or brand to share what's worked for them, what they needed to improve on, and all of their learning lessons along the way. They're from around the world, streaming right here on this show. There are also some bonus episodes to enjoy where I bring back guests who are continuing to make headlines. You never know which motivational journey is going to inspire you most. Core values supported Paul to rise from the violence, abuse, and poverty in his life to become an Oxford University and Wharton graduate who is known for his abilities as a CEO, entrepreneur, and mentor. Paul is the founder of PSG Holdings, a private equity investment holding funded by Paul Szyarto and Growth Accelerator, supporting more than 20 diverse assets at any given time with an AUM exceeding 200 million. PSG supports fund management, growth capital generation, delivery consulting and stabilization, and mergers and acquisitions management. As I mentioned, over a 20-year period, PSG and Paul have collaborated and transformed more than 1,000 clients by establishing operational efficiencies to increase profitability and overall valuation by focusing on minimizing digital disruption and implementing solutions that generate immediate value. We have a great episode ahead. Let me bring him on. Paul Szyarto. Paul, it's great to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Vince, thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited to learn what went on behind the scenes of this incredible journey. Can we start with an introduction to our audience before we dive into the business side?
Yeah, of course. Introduction. Where do you want me to start? So as you mentioned, I've had a long journey. Giving you a little bit of detail about my, when I was a child. As you mentioned, I didn't grow up in the incubators like some of these other, rock star entrepreneurs. Like, you hear everything about Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. They had it so hard working in their little garages. But as we all know, one went to Harvard, the other went to Stanford. They were essentially engineered to be the best. So I wasn't that guy. I grew up in Union, New Jersey, Irvington, New Jersey. They're armpits of New Jersey, and we didn't have much as kids. And my father was a violent, insane alcoholic who would walk into our house in the evening, just tear it up pretty much every night. So if he wasn't tearing up our house, he was, beating up my mom. He was, abusing us. And, by the time I was 12 years old, he came and knocked on our window at an apartment we lived in Stuyvesant Village in Irvington. So it was a real dump. But he knocked on the window, started firing in the shooting at us in the home. And next thing I know, I was in court, speaking out against my father. So he went away to Rawway prison for some time. And at the age of 17, I was essentially forced to go into the military. And I say that because, when you're living a life that I lived, you're around not the best people. You're trying to figure out how to get by. You're doing whatever you could to make money. So my world of entrepreneurship started when I was a little kid to essentially buy the things I needed. And at the age of 17, I got into I had a situation where, I had a fight. And next thing you know, I was in a courthouse, and the judge pretty much said, "You're going into the military." So at 17, I joined the Navy, and I actually joined the Navy because I was about to sign up for the Marine Corps, and I was sitting there with Sergeant Ski, right, and I was about to sign, and I was going to be of course, like an infantry person. I wanted to be a badass, tough guy Marine. And he's like, we're going to get you all, toughened up, and we're going to get you going as a Marine. And I remember my uncle was a senior chief in the Navy, called, and he goes, "Hey man, go just talk to the Navy. Just talk to the Navy." And I said, "Look, Ski, I'm going to have to talk to the Navy." And then I went to the Navy the next day, and I said, "Hey, I'm just checking out what you guys offer." And I remember them telling me, "Well, what were you going to do in the Marine Corps?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to be an infantryman, I'm going to be a badass." And they said, "Look, man, you scored like in the 96th percentile on your test. That's not what you should be doing. You should be a nuclear engineer." And I was like, "All right, well, I'm a tough guy. It's I never thought of being a nuclear engineer." So I said, "Okay, sure." So I signed the paper, and off I went to the military at 17, did that for 6 years. And it was actually amazing, man. It was like, it just opened my eyes to what my being a motivated kid, being a survivor, having that and having the structure of the military, what that can create. And what it did was it created this individual you see today, this insane individual that does nothing but tries to step it up every single day. So did that for 6 years and got out. I got a job for like 3 months. And I learned that, hey, people will pay me to build cool stuff. And, I started, building assets, selling assets. Started my first company when I was 23, sold it, started another company, then another one and another one. And then got to the point where, we accumulated enough capital to start acquiring assets. And that's where the whole concept of PS Group Holdings comes in. So yeah, so that's where we're at today, man. Now I just have fun, buying, selling, inflating, helping organizations, get to the next level of hyper success.
Well, I love the passion. I feel it right here through the computer. I know our listeners are going to take that with them on this episode as they tune in. We found out really what pushed you into entrepreneurship, right? You were that go-getter in the military. You always wanted more and more and more. What are two of the hardest parts of running your own show, being an entrepreneur?
So the first thing that's the hardest part is that every decision is on you, but it's not on you. And I'll explain. So you have to be accountable, responsible for every single thing that happens as an entrepreneur. And what that means is you have to make the final decision. However, you also have the capability to hire the great resources to help you make those decisions. And the problem is hiring and finding the right people is it's very challenging, So what'll happen is you'll try to create these circles of trust that may influence you down the wrong path, and I think that goes down the most challenging part of being an entrepreneur is that you get to ride the coaster of success, but you also need to figure out how to, survive the dips of failure, and it really comes down to, having the team, getting through failure and success. So
Do you have any tips that you can offer our audience here, Paul, of maybe finding the right hires, building the right team around you? As we mentioned, next to impossible, especially at first in entrepreneurship. Even with me on a lower scale with interns, I have found it almost impossible to find someone to be accountable. Yeah. So what can you help us out with?
Okay, so I'm gonna give your audience like the most valuable tip that they can walk away with, because what happens with all entrepreneurs is they go out and they try to hire competence, right? So competence means, the person has a skill set, they have knowledge, they have experience that can help you and essentially implant that knowledge, experience, skill set into your organization. However, there's one thing that is greater than competence, and that is loyalty. Okay. So I would rather hire someone who is less competent, but absolutely, 100% loyal to the vision and mission of what I'm trying to accomplish versus someone who is 100% competent, yet you question their loyalty. Because here's the thing, man, smart people are like us. They're building things. They're the builders of life, and what they're doing is they latch on to others and they try to increase their portfolio of knowledge so they can go build more. Those aren't people that are going to stick with you. So what I want to do is I want to surround myself with loyalists who want to learn, they want to grow, they want to be part of a really great team. Yep. And it may take a little bit longer. However, your final result is going to be that much grander. So loyalty over competence any day.
Couldn't agree with you more. Very, very well said there. Even a bit before, you touched on failures in entrepreneurships. You need to ride the highs to go with the failures. What is your greatest failure or lesson learned, Paul, throughout all of your years in entrepreneurship? Let's talk about what it taught you.
So I would say, and this is for everyone running a business, starting a business, and anyone in life in general, right? Do your homework on who you're collaborating with, who you're partnering with, because what happens is, there are, with the world of social media and the world of, being an illusionist, has taken over society. And we have people that, they present themselves one way, but under the covers, they're really another way. And I think that's my greatest failure point, is that I've entrusted people at times and I've overlooked the deep and analytical work that should be done to validate, what they're saying, their income, how they have reach. And the thing is, when you don't do that and you entrust people because, they sound good, they play the part, they look great, and they're presenting so well, you don't want to undercut them because, there's something about them you believe can help accelerate you. But don't ever be deceived, because I would say there's more of them than there are, people that are real in life right now. There's so many people that are trying to deceive to just get another inch to accelerate themselves because of the one key word. It's called greed, my man. So everyone's greedy. Everyone will take. Everyone will create an illusion so they can get you to invest and to help them grow.
I unfortunately have found a trend with those type of people, as well as people not holding themselves accountable, especially as life has opened more and more back up with appointments and things, just no call, no shows, and all of these from people.
Oh my God.
Accountability for me is very big. I try to hold myself accountable in everything I do.
Yeah, I'd say there's too many clowns out there. that put on they put on the makeup, they hold the balloon. They'll be out there to make you smile, make you laugh. They'll do their job in front of the audience. But in the back room, they're depressed. They have no self-confidence. They're in deep debt. I would say I've been duped a few times. And the thing is, I recently went through something, and I made a decision that I will never, ever allow myself to proceed without a very, 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 very well-structured contract that covers my butt.
Yeah.
And two, without doing a very, very deep due diligence on who these people are that may fracture your brand, that may hinder your growth, and so on.
I think something that can also piggyback off that is firsthand referrals, firsthand connections. Instead of just a random pick, I always try now to at least have my connection come from someone vouching for them, someone I trust in my circle. At least it's a step in the right direction of combating the clowns, as you say. Love that.
Yeah, I like that.
I want to hear something from you here, Paul. You're a very bright guy, a lot of studying over the years, and your own businesses time and time again. If you could sit down with any entrepreneur, dead or alive, to speak with, pick their brain, who are you choosing?
Something, I would say right now, I'd say the most interesting entrepreneur right now that I find myself most in alignment with is probably Elon Musk. And
Talk about why. Yeah.
The reason why I say that is because he is I'd say I like to call what he does multi-threading, parallel processing of opportunity. So most CEOs, most operators, they run it in series where they're running a asset in series. So they'll run one, then two, then three. I'd say Elon has a very unique ability to compartmentalize. He has a unique ability to structure his time most efficiently and effectively to not run just 2 or 3 assets, but if you really do your deep due diligence on the guy, he's running like a dozen things. Plus, he has a family. I don't know,
he's a family guy.
The success in the back end, but you could see what he does in the front end, and he's created such a powerful force going forward. It would be great to just, I guess, pick his brain on one, why he does it, two, how he creates a balance between the different assets and his home life, because I think that's probably the biggest challenge for me in the back end.
Of course, juggling a million tasks will never get easier as an entrepreneur, but let's delve a little deeper. You could pick the meeting location for you and Mr. Musk. Where are you meeting?
We're meeting on Mars, baby.
With him, you have to at this point.
I know.
It's going to be in a few years. I'm really excited to see the innovation and growth that even Bezos is doing his thing up there now.
I know, right?
It's going to be great to watch. But speaking of future, let's look into your future here. Before the episode, we were talking about some things you were launching on the background. Let's inform our listeners of what's going on in your world.
So I am working with a few very large organizations. I'm not at liberty to say their names. However, I will give you their competitors. So one of them is a leading artificial intelligence machine learning organization that is going to take the market by storm. I am helping them restructure and to accelerate valuation to market right now. And their competitor is a company called Databricks. Databricks is looking to IPO right now for around $80 billion. It has an 80 plus X multiplier. And I believe that the organization that I'm working with will not only provide a better solution, but they're going to provide even more value to the marketplace, which means greater value for our pockets. So I'm working with a few organizations like that. In addition, we are launching a few assets that will help, even people like yourself, essentially accelerate and monetize your own membership community. So we have an organization called, so we have a company called Membrella that's about to launch, which is a membership management. It actually manages member groups. So associations, small groups, large groups, small organizations. And what we've done is we've created this portal that allows you to charge membership fees, manage members, what they're doing, how they're doing it, and offer benefit, meaning, so we actually teamed up with Lionsgate, we teamed up with Allstate, we teamed up with about 60 different insurance companies. So Membrella will be providing gig-based insurance. What that means is you no longer have to go to the marketplace to get insurance. You can just join one of the associations or, a tenants through Membrella, and we will get you insurance, whether it's health, life, disability, which is really cool at group purchasing rates. We also have a discount program, which gets you access to over 6,000 different discounts. And some of the tenants that are coming out, one is Mentobo, which is for entrepreneurs. So look it up, Mentobo, mentobo.com. It is the association that is there to support every entrepreneur with succeeding at the business of life. And it'll give you access to insurance, benefits, and all the actual tools an entrepreneur needs to essentially accelerate themselves as for being entrepreneurs.
Paul is up to some big things. He mentioned the competitor he's about to be going against, 80 billion in valuation. Get ready for some big announcements. I will keep you updated from Paul as soon as he tunes me in. And now we are going to get his take on the Spotlight story. If it's your first episode with us, I sit down with my guest to discuss the entrepreneurial journey of a fellow entrepreneur to add some new perspective to your life. For this episode, since we have a Wharton graduate on the show, we will look into the journey of another in Jeff Rader. And I based this on 2 articles, but the Forbes article I read was called "The Entrepreneur Behind Warby Parker and Harry's Founded Not 1, but $2 billion companies." That certainly caught my eye. So Jeff Rader is the co-founder behind 2 really big startup success stories, Warby Parker and Harry's. Warby Parker dominating the eyeglass space. Harry's is shaving and personal care. I love these stories where it's an early entrepreneur like Paul is. Jeff grew up in the entrepreneurial household as his mother started her own venture when he was just 11. But an interesting testimonial here where seeing firsthand founder life up front and personal, he thought he wanted nothing to do with anything entrepreneurial. He witnessed not only the great times, but the very difficult times. Jeff and his co-founders were students when one lost his glasses while on a backpacking trip. He went the whole first semester of grad school without glasses because the cost was too high to replace them. We can all think back to being in college. Every penny counts. The other co-founders had similar experiences and were astounded by how hard it was to find a reasonably priced pair of glasses. They learned that the eyewear industry was dominated by a single company that has been able to keep prices artificially high while reaping huge profits from customers. Warby Parker was started to create an alternative, and I love that. By circumventing traditional channels, designing glasses in-house, and engaging with customers directly, they offered higher quality, better-looking eyewear at a fraction of the cost, the article says. To also touch on Harry's before we sign off, in the Forbes article that was written in 2009, they already had a few thousand employees, almost 100 stores, reportedly raising nearly $300 million and a close to a $2 billion valuation. Paul, what do you like about one of your classmates?
So this is actually really good. Jeff is he's a great dude, and this is one of the case studies you always hear from every single class at Wharton. So it's like so I know this story extremely well. He's deep within the Wharton community, and I think it's phenomenal. So it's like when you hear that, hey, there was a problem that I identified, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a solution to fix that problem. That is the actually the foundation of what being an entrepreneur is. And the thing is, like, this is for everyone out there, right? How do we become entrepreneurs, right? The first thing is you need to identify a problem. And in Jeff's case, there was a problem. And when you start doing your research and you start creating a plan, you start identifying what all the factors that contribute are that support that problem. And what he identified is, wow, we have a huge problem. And there's one company that's really dominating the eyeglass industry. Wait a second, what's going on here? They have a monopoly over pricing.
Yep.
So there is no price war. There is no Coke and Pepsi. There is no competitive landscape that actually allows consumers to now shop. You're shopping against one company. And what they're doing is they're actually manipulating you down a path because they know what you're going to buy anyway, So they know what consumers are going to buy. They know what segments are going to buy what. So I think it's phenomenal that he went out and what's really cool about the Wharton community is that it sticks together. So, when you have that kind of background and you're able to open doors to money, and the thing is, to go down the path he went, essentially, attacking the big player in the industry by being a little mom and pop shop, but they attacked it differently. They went to the consumer instead of the consumer coming to them, and they created a really neat model where they would send you, 5 pairs, you would pick your pair at no cost. And there was essentially no risk with his model, and he found the producers at, for pretty much the producers that made the other glasses for pennies on the dollar. And the thing is, the markup in that industry, if I can get think about that, if I can get a 100% markup on a pair of glasses, which is probably costing me $1 to build, because it's silly plastic components, it's like $1, and then everything you pay, it's like the consumer's going to pay. They're going to pay for the true cost. So if I can get 100% versus a 9,000% compared to what the big player is, guess what's going to happen? Even though there's a barrier to entry, you're going to find a way, because when you focus on the consumer first instead of the product, the consumer experience, which everyone needs to look at that. Everyone needs to look at, what is the problem and how does it affect the consumer? When you're able to solve a problem and also make it very, very easy for the consumer to essentially buy into your solution, guess what? You just changed the entire marketplace. And that's why you see all of this online and at-home shopping and everything happening now, because of guys like Jeff. They revolutionized, the at-home shopping model, think about it, for glasses. You would never think, hey, I'm going to be at home buying my glasses, but they did it. And now with Harry's is a whole nother cool thing, where you start seeing, Dollar Shave Club, and Jeff goes, hey, wait a second, there's this crazy guy on TV with Dollar Shave Club. That's a tremendous model.
Incredible.
People go to the store, they buy razors. Let me get them to buy razors from their living room. Let me put them on a subscription model for razors. And then you follow it with all the stuff that supports, shaving your face, your head, whatever it may be. So I think it's brilliant. It's such a wonderful story to hear. And Vince, that's what entrepreneurship's all about.
Something I've really been trying to do over the last few seasons is finding stories, not just to put a story out like in the beginning of the podcast, but to find something that will resonate with my guest. And the fact that you had such an incredible answer for that is much appreciated, because I know the value our audience just took on. And I also have to thank you so much, Paul, for taking the time to sit down with our audience. In addition to liking that, I loved how you showed your persistence. You were 6 years in the military, but then you bought and sold your first company by 23. You gave those valuable tips for new hires, identifying a problem, creating a solution, all incredible nuggets for my audience. I would like to now ask you for your last word.
So I will say this. So I'm 43 years old. I can retire today. So I have enough liquidity, enough capital, enough asset to retire today. However, I don't know if you knew this through research, but I'm actually in law school right now. So I decided to get into law because I think that the industry of the legal industry is primed to be disrupted, and the only way they're going to listen to me is if I'm a lawyer. And if I can infuse technology and social and artificial intelligence and machine learning in that domain, guess what? It's going to be huge. In addition, I'm planning on trying to get into politics in the next few years. But my point of saying this is, look, I'm at the state in my life where I can sit, I can relax, I can buy, I can spend, I can go have fun. However, life is not about sitting on your ass and, just, killing time. I am here for a purpose, and my goal is to invest every second I have into generating impact that affects me, and it affects every single person that could hear the words coming out of my mouth.
Incredibly inspiring, ambitious as the whole episode was. Now, please tell everybody where they can find you, the website, the social media, the company, all that good stuff.
So you can find me on paulszyarto.com. That's Paulszyarto.com. That is my main website, and it has all the links on it. You can find me. You can watch my travels. You can watch me with some of these organizations that I'm helping to rebuild. I'd say use that as the primary, and that'll get you access to PS Group Holdings. It'll get access to Mantoba, Membrella, all of the 40 plus assets we're working with today.
Thank you for sharing that. Be sure to check him out. Check us out too while you're on the internet. We are at That Entrepreneur Show on all social media, except Twitter because of the character limit. We were at Podcast by Lanci, and you get updates from all 4 of my shows. Of course, my handles are at Vincent A. Lanci for all social media, YouTube, and my website is vincentalanci.com. My latest book is Mental Health Week, the go-to book for elementary school students to level up their mental health. It's time to end the show with a quote, and it's from our spotlight entrepreneur who said, "As an entrepreneur, I've learned that things are never as good or as bad as they seem." Couldn't be more of the truth. See you next week on That Entrepreneur Show. Paul, thank you for stopping by.
Thanks for having me, Vince.